There was a border collie in Stockholm, beautifully trained, calm at home, the kind of dog strangers would compliment. And roughly once a week, this dog would completely lose it on walks. Lunging, barking, full meltdown, the works. But it wasn't every walk. That was the strange part. A behaviorist tracked the pattern for weeks before she found it. Same neighborhood, same leash, same owner, same other dogs. But on certain days, something inside that dog seemed to snap before the walk had even really begun. And when she finally found the pattern, it had almost nothing to do with the dog. I'll come back to that. But first, I need to show you something about your leash that nobody has framed clearly enough. Because if you have Googled this before, and you probably have, maybe at midnight, maybe after one of those walks where you came home embarrassed, tired, and pretending you were not upset, you probably found some version of this. Your dog is frustrated. Your dog needs more socialization. You need to be a calm leader. And here is the frustrating thing. All of that can be technically true, and still completely useless at explaining what is actually happening inside your dog's brain during those 45 seconds when they see another dog and suddenly become an animal you barely recognize. So let me skip to the part nobody tells you clearly. That leash is disabling every social skill your dog has, not reducing. Disabling. It is forcing a head-on approach, which in dog language can feel like pressure. It is removing the option to pause, curve, retreat, sniff the ground, glance away, or simply choose not to engage. And those are not random little dog habits. Those are the tools dogs use to say, I am safe. I am not here to fight. I need a second. Let's not make this weird. But the leash takes those tools away. And then, it physically connects your nervous system to theirs. Every tiny shift in your hand, every breath you hold, every bit of dread you feel when you spot another dog down the sidewalk, travels 6 feet down a strip of nylon and lands in your dog's body. Your dog is not going crazy. Your dog is trapped inside a situation where every exit is locked, and barking is the only door that opens. Here is what it looks like from inside your dog in real time. They spot the other dog. Every cell in their body says go, not necessarily to fight, just to know. Who is that? Are they friendly? Are they too intense? Can I smell them? Can I move away if I need to? Normal dog questions. Their weight shifts forward. Their ears move ahead of their eyes. Their body starts preparing for information. And then, the leash catches, and it is like slamming into a glass door at full speed, except the door is around their neck, and the speed is emotional. That wanting has nowhere to go, so it converts into arousal. The energy, meant for greeting, floods into the only channels still open. Their lungs, their legs, their whole body. And then comes the part that makes the behavior stick. The explosion works. The other dog moves away. You cross the street. The distance returns. The pressure drops. Threat gone. Your dog's brain files that away. Not as drama, as strategy. Next time, they may not wait for the conflict to build. They may skip straight to the fireworks, because last time the fireworks worked. You are not watching a dog who lost control. You are watching a dog who found a solution. It is just a terrible one. And once you understand that, the next piece becomes much easier to see. Because when two dogs meet without leashes, they do not usually walk straight at each other like tiny soldiers. They curve. They slow down. They glance away. They sniff the ground, even when there is nothing interesting on the ground. And that sniffing is not always about smell. Sometimes it is a sentence. It says, relax. I am not rushing you. It says, I see you, but I am not staring. It says, we can both make this normal if nobody gets weird. Dogs have an entire silent language built out of angles, pauses, speed, distance, and tiny choices. Honestly, it is more polite than most human conversations. Two strange dogs can meet in a park and run a full diplomatic meeting in 5 seconds. A curve means I am not a threat. A look away means I am giving you space. A slow step means I can handle this. A sniff means let's lower the pressure. And then, based on all of that, both dogs decide what happens next. Maybe they play. Maybe they ignore each other. Maybe one says, "No thanks," and walks away. That is not failure. That is social skill. Now put both dogs on leashes. The curve becomes a collision course. The pause becomes a pull. The look away gets dragged back into forced eye contact. The sniff becomes you saying, "Come on, not now." And suddenly, the dog who actually had social skills looks like the one causing the problem. Picture someone walking you directly toward a stranger on a narrow sidewalk. Your hands are tied behind your back. You cannot step sideways. You cannot slow down. You cannot leave. And the person holding the rope behind you whispers, "Be nice." That is what a lot of leash greetings feel like, not because the owner is cruel, not because the dog is bad, but because the setup is already unnatural before the dogs even arrive. And here is where people accidentally make it worse. The moment you see another dog, your body changes. You may not say anything. You may not even think a full thought yet, but your hand tightens. Your shoulders rise. Your breathing gets smaller. Maybe you wrap the leash around your wrist because it feels safer. Maybe you shorten it by 2 feet without realizing. Your dog feels that before they fully understand what is ahead. To them, the leash does not just say, "Stay close." It says, "Something changed." It says, "My person just got tense." So now, the dog starts scanning for the reason. And of course, they find it. The other dog. Now the loop has started. You tighten because you are afraid they will react. They react because you tightened. You correct because they reacted. They escalate because the correction adds more pressure. And the whole thing becomes a feedback loop with fur on one end and anxiety on the other. The sad part is, both of you think you are trying to prevent the explosion. But together, you may be lighting the fuse. And this is the moment where the story stops being about obedience and starts being about the nervous system. Because your dog is not only responding to the other dog, they are responding to the version of you that appears when the other dog shows up. That sounds uncomfortable, I know, but stay with me. There was a research team in Sweden that studied stress in dogs and their owners in a way that feels almost too intimate. They did not just look at one stressful moment. They did not measure a single bad walk. They looked at long-term stress by measuring cortisol in hair. Hair holds time. It holds stress the way a tree holds rings. And what they found was hard to ignore. Dogs with highly stressed owners tended to have higher long-term stress too. Not just during the walk, not just when the leash got tight. Over time, month after month, your dog may not understand your emails, your bills, your deadlines, your argument in the kitchen, or the silence after a hard phone call. But they understand your body. They understand the way you move when you are carrying too much. They understand the difference between your calm footsteps and your rushed ones. They understand the hand that clips the leash gently and the hand that clips it like the walk is already a problem. That is what the behaviorist in Stockholm eventually noticed. The border collie was not worse on random days. The dog was worse on days when the owner had stressful work calls before the walk. Same route, same sidewalk, same neighborhood dogs, but a different human walked out the door. On calm days, the dog had more room inside their body. On stressful days, the owner's breathing was shallow, the pace was faster, the hand was tighter, and the dog was already halfway to panic before the first trigger appeared. So when another dog came around the corner, it was not the beginning of the problem. It was the final drop, and that is why leash reactivity can feel so confusing. You think, but nothing happened yet. No dog touched my dog. No one barked first. No real danger appeared. But inside the system, something had already been happening for 10 minutes, maybe for 10 hours, maybe for months. This does not mean it is your fault in the simple, cruel way people use that word online. It means your dog is connected to you more deeply than most training advice admits. They are not just listening to your commands. They are listening to your temperature, your tension, your timing, your belief about what is about to happen. And if you believe the walk is going to go badly, your dog may feel that prediction before the world gives them any proof. And this is where I want to be very careful. Because when people hear this, some of them immediately turn it into blame. They think, "So I ruined my dog. I made them anxious. I made the walks worse. But that is not the right lesson. The better lesson is this. Your dog's behavior is not a moral failure. It is a system, and systems can be changed. Maybe your dog missed important socialization when they were a puppy. Maybe you were told to keep them away from other dogs until all the vaccines were done. Maybe you were trying to be responsible. Maybe you were careful, and the window closed while you were doing exactly what you thought a good owner should do. That is not stupidity. That is not laziness. That is a timing problem wearing a costume, and maybe, after that, every bad walk taught both of you the wrong lesson. Your dog learned that barking creates distance. You learned that tightening the leash creates control. Your dog learned to scan for danger. You learned to scan for embarrassment. And little by little, the walk stopped being a walk. It became a prediction, a test, a place where both of you waited for the same thing to go wrong. So the first change does not need to be dramatic. Do not start by trying to fix the whole dog. Start by changing the first message your body sends. Before you open the door, pause. Take one slow breath. Drop your shoulders. Then, put 2 fingers between your palm and the leash handle. Just 2 fingers. It sounds almost too small to matter, but that is the point. With 2 fingers there, you cannot white-knuckle the leash the same way. Your hand stays softer, your arm stays looser, and your dog, who has been reading that hand since the day they came home, may feel the difference before the walk even begins. You are not magically curing reactivity. You are changing the opening sentence. Instead of, something bad is coming, your body starts to say, we have space, we have time, I am with you. And if your dog still barks tomorrow, that does not mean you failed. It means the old system is still strong, but now you can see it. You can see the leash. You can see your hand. You can see the moment fear becomes pressure, and pressure becomes noise. That is where change begins. Not when the dog becomes perfect, but when the human stops joining the panic. So the next time your dog lunges and that familiar heat of embarrassment rises up your neck, look down at your hand. Your dog was always reading it. Now, the question is, what do you want it to say? And I genuinely want to know what you think. Is leash reactivity something almost every dog can change with the right system? Or are some dogs simply wired to react harder than others? Tell me your answer in the comments. And if you have ever had a walk where you realized your dog was not the only one holding tension, write the word leash below. I think more people have lived this than are willing to admit.